ready to make a dish with my cilantro, so I pulled it out of the fridge. Just going to unroll it here. And so I'm going to chop all of this. So, you know, if you're making a lot of dishes in this curriculum, there is a lot of cilantro. If you're not a cilantro fan, you can replace it with something else, but certainly you would use the same technique for parsley. So I have my bunch of herbs, and cilantro stems are actually quite edible. You want to mince them up finer than you would the leaf part, just so you don't get a big chewy piece. There's not as many uses for parsley stems. They're used to flavor, but they can be woody and very fibrous, so they're not as pleasant to eat. So this step is actually really, really helpful when you're chopping parsley, because you want to remove a lot of that stem. And so I'm just going to grab it in my non-dominant hand, so I'm right-handed, grabbing the cilantro in my left hand, and then I'm going to have my knife at about a 20-degree angle or so, and what I want to do is just kind of shave outward away from myself. Turn it a little bit, shave again, turn it a little bit, shave again, and keep doing that. And then you can see that, you know, there's some little bits of stems, but most of the stems are in my hand and most of the leaves are on the board. Just kind of chop through what remains, put that in my scrap bowl, or if you're going to make a beautiful green curry or something where you'd use the stems, you could, you know, put that in the processor and mince that up. If you want to remove any other big stems, you can, but what I never ever spend time doing is when you see recipes that say, remove all the leaves from the cilantro, there is really no reason to do that unless that is just really zen for you and you love doing that. It's definitely not a great use of your time. All right, so to chop this, I like using a chef's knife for this step if you're going to do a lot. It's just really hard to get it finely minced with a paring knife. So I'm just going to put this in a pile and then, you know, kind of get in there. I'm not smushing hard, but I'm just kind of rolling and trying to pull it in together, basically trying to condense this a little bit so I can grab it in my hand, that, you know, that claw that we've been talking so much about with chopping, and hold it there so I can roughly chop it this way. I'm going to curl my fingers back as I go. And again, there are many right ways to do this, but this is just a really efficient way to do a lot of herb chopping. So I have this roughly chopped pile of cilantro. You can see, you know, there's no big stems anymore. And now I'm just going to do mincing like I would with anything else, garlic or, you know, more herbs. Put the tip of my knife down and go in a pie shape, up and down, back and forth on my board. You might have to lift up your knife, move it over to get everything evenly chopped. So you can certainly do it this way. The other way that you can do this, especially if you really want to make a statement about cooking in the kitchen, is you can kind of bounce your knife off of the palm of your hand, keeping your fingers up, keeping everything out of the way. And this is very noisy, so I'm describing it ahead of time, but I'll just demonstrate now. So you can see, you know, if you want to impress your friends, that's also kind of fun. So scrape that back up into a pile, and you just keep mincing or chopping, whichever method you prefer that I just showed you, until it's the size you want. You know, in a dish where you just want a little hint of cilantro flavor, you might want, you know, really finely minced up. If you want, you know, big beautiful leaves, that might be the one time where you pull them off separately if you want to see the whole leaf, like if you're making Vietnamese spring rolls and you want to see the leaf through that translucent rice paper. You know, if you're having a more rustic soup, you want bigger pieces, this might be good for you. If you're going to just cook this for like 30 to 60 seconds at the end of cooking, you never want to cook fresh herbs for a long time, then you know, bigger pieces would be nice, because you're going to not have it cook too long or too much in the end of the cooking of a dish. So I'll finish chopping this and show you what it looks like finely minced. And I should note what I'm doing is a lot of times the pieces that kind of get toward the outside of the circle stay bigger and the pieces in the middle are smaller. So I'm actually kind of pulling the outside pieces in and kind of piling them on top. A lot of times, you know, cooks or chefs that are pretty experienced or have been doing this for a long time do a lot of things that they don't even notice that they do that are really helpful. And I'm trying to remember them and explain them to you when I go through this process. So we have our, you know, finely minced or chopped up cilantro. If you don't have a salad spinner and you still have a fair amount of moisture clinging to your herbs when you go to chop it, you actually will see like some runny green liquid around this. It would be hard to pick it up and sprinkle it nicely over a dish like this. So what you can do is you can take a piece of cheesecloth or other very porous material. You can put this into that and twist it up into a ball, and this sounds really counterintuitive, but you can run water over that to kind of rinse off that, that mix of water and kind of the chlorophyll and other components of the cilantro that have made a paste with the water that was on your cutting board. Rinse that off, and then you can keep squeezing that in a ball dry. You can even twist it to tighten it. Squeeze all the liquid you can out of it, and that will actually dry it out more than it was on your cutting board, even though you ran water over it. And it will allow you then to have this nice, drier herb that you can sprinkle over your finished dish.